Hi everybody, and a big welcome to cEDH TV gameplay. Me, Pons, and Rhetoric, as usual, this time joined by Emil.
Hello.
Today, I'm back with Derevi. This recently won a tournament. This is Clayton's list. I am playing a duplicate just because I know that I wanted to call attention to the actual copy of the winning deck if you want to hear some of the conversations so forth that they've had about the deck. But yeah, we have a really strong, I'd say, it's a layered combo Bant package that's really great. And I was excited to give this a whirl when I saw it in action. So yeah, we'll get it going. We'll try our best. I've tried Derevi a couple times, but I'm committed to keep playing it on the regular just because it was my first commander I ever had.
I am Emil. I'm gonna play Urza, which might sound bad because of the stats you present about Urza. Mons, apparently he has a 10% win rate or something, and it's even worse than before the dockside banning. But I am not playing a polymorph Urza deck. I'm playing an Urza Storm variant using all the cards that give you more artifact tokens and stuff on the board. So it's gonna be a very messy, stormy game if I can have it my way.
Today I'm playing Celes Rune Knight. My exact build is kind of like just the worst Tihada, but there's some specific things that's interesting, such as like flickering your commander for a wheel for only you. But more or less, it's just your standard Mardu Turbo deck with Nas Breach and a commander that gives you fuel in some kind of way.
I am playing my favorite commander, Sisay, Weatherlight Captain, my Sisay Necro build. This is a build that is trying to play a good game without Sisay, utilizing Necropotence, including pretty much almost everything that can help her achieve a Necrodominant victory. But we also have a pretty clean, typical Sisay package with Emil the Blessed, Derevi, and Gaia's Cradle, and some other legendary loop tricks. It's honestly my favorite commander, and this is my favorite version of Sisay. Hasn't been updated for a while, but I'm pretty happy with how she works out. This hand contains only one land, and that is a little bit too slow. I'd rather see something like 2 to 3 lands in my opener, because this is gonna be like Dork, pass, next turn cast Dork and pass and no land drop. So it's not explosive enough. Gemstone Caverns in the opening hand when we are the starting player is a little bit sad. Underworld Breach is not something we can develop that fast, and we don't have the colors to cast Necro Dominance that early here. I don't like Gamble personally. It's like cast Breach, cast Gamble and win. It feels still clunky. The mana, the Gemstone Caverns and the Ancient Tomb is just colorless mana. There's too much color demand for this to work out. I'm actually going to mulligan this one in the end. Turn 1 Draenei Magistrate. Demonic Tutor, I like this. How important is the Draenei Magistrate turn 1? Kinda important. We're keeping this regardless. We are going to bottom the Mental Misstep, because we're not responsible people. Demonic Tutor might find something like a Smothering Tithe, depending on if we get the mana, or depending on what we draw into. We could use it to potentially tutor for a Rhystic Study. If we actually draw land here, we could go turn 1 Tutor, turn 2 Rhystic Study, and then we're sitting in a pretty good position. So depending on what we draw into, Demonic Tutor can do some different things. Let's hope it works.
This is our first 7. This survey land is here by mistake. I thought this was the new land that's like tap for white and a black if you have a swamp or plains. I think it's the wording. But even if that was the card we had, this hand is one of those weird ones because we have a lot of tutoring, but we don't really have any mana of lands. So the most common play pattern would be to like turn 1 Vamp Tutor for something like Sol Ring, or maybe Dark Rit / Mana Vault, but probably Sol Ring. And then turn 2 Wishclaw. But we don't have enough mana to actually find the payoff and use it immediately with Wishclaw. So all of our alternatives are pretty slow because we're like earliest turn 3 we present something, and it's not even guaranteed to be something impactful. It probably will, of course, but like we need to draw some more mana probably. So I am going to mulligan this hand. Our second 7 has a... the problem isn't actually that similar, but different. We just have 1 land and a Red Flame. Bergi is really strong, but we can't really storm with Bergi in this hand. Also, we don't have the mana for Bergi. If we could cast Archivist of Ogma from the Right to Flame, maybe you keep this hand. I'm not sure. That card isn't really strong enough to solo carry a hand, I think. But given that we don't have the mana for it, it's guaranteed, we're missing a land, and our payoffs are pretty expensive, we're really not having any luck in the mana department here. Once again, we don't have any mana. The best thing to be doing in cEDH, in my opinion, is to have mana. Draw engines are up there, but I actually think mana is more important, and this has neither. So yeah, we're going to 5. This is starting to be a bit ridiculous. This is a no land, some lands. I know we're low on lands in this deck, but we do need some. Yeah, we're going to 4. So our 4 is the first hand that has an actual game plan. That game plan is to play 3 lands and play Necropotence on turn 3. Is that a good game plan? No, but do we mulligan it? Really want to. This hand is pretty bad.
Okay, so this is my 7-card hand that I have kept. I have a Battered Golem in my hand, so the plan is to get it out as early as possible. The dream would be to play Clown Car after it, but I think in this case it's better to use Moonsnare Prototype's ability with Clown Car just as where X is 0. So that is gonna be my turn 1, this is my turn 2, and Urza on turn 3. And 2 lands, 1 mana rock, that's it.
This for 7 looks good. I mean, yeah, like there's a lot of great cards, nothing to complain about, but what we are lacking really are some of the pieces we need to find the combos, and that's what my understanding is that this build likes, as it should. You know, it's cEDH. So we're going to go ahead and go to second 7. Similar idea, but again, it's just kind of sitting back with interaction. There's not much we can draw from these, and we can't even get Derevi out on like turn 2. It's also a key thing we want to do in this. So let's go ahead and go to 6. So this looks even worse. We have no lands. Serviceable stuff here. We have Utopia Sprawl as well as Polluted Delta, so I think if we're not wheeled, we will have some opportunities. I'm going to keep the Gear Hulk because it may be useful for fetching up other items. I think I'm going to pitch this Force of Vigor and this Chromatic Orrery. I don't really want to do that, but I need some other pieces.
Beginning with drawing a card for the turn. I am going to play this Overgrown Tomb, losing 2 life. Then I'm gonna cast a Mox Diamond, pitching this Water Grave to the bin. And then I'm gonna cast a Dranite Magi straight. Let's get it straight. And then I pass the turn.
Go to my turn. Land for turn will be a Flooded Strand, and I will crack it. Finding this Shadow Backstreet, and on ETB, I will surveil. Oh, actually keeping on top of my library, and then pass my turn.
Alright, it's my turn. Well, as you heard in the beginning of the game, I had a plan playing this turn 1, but because of what Mons did, I'm gonna change my plans. I'm gonna draw a card. That one I can't even use. Flooded Strand, sack it, find an island. I'm going to pass the turn.
Spicy plays, Mon, spicy plays. Let's draw a card. Play Polluted Delta, crack it, fetching up a tropical island. I will tap the tropical island for a Utopia Sprawl, and I will add white to this mix. And then I'll pass.
I'm gonna draw a card. Land? No, that's not a land. However, we do have a pretty cool play. We're gonna cast this Lion's Eye Diamond. Then we're gonna cast a Demonic Tutor. And with that on the stack, we're going to respond by sacrificing Lion's Eye Diamond for 3 blue mana. And we're gonna be discarding Lavinia's Azura's Renegade and Tibalt. We're obviously going to find Rhetoric Study and cast the thing with the floating blue mana we had. Smack at Pontus is playing Adnos. I saw that in the intro for 1.
No blocks.
Pass turn.
Go to my turn. Land for turn will be a Blood Crypt that I'll shock in, taking 2. And then I will pay 2 mana to cast a Loto, not paying for a stick. And with Loto in play, I'll pass the turn.
I'll draw a card, play a Minamo for 2 mana. I'll play a Fellwar Stone. I'm not gonna pay, and I'm gonna pass the turn.
Land for turn is an Ancient Tomb. Just go ahead and pass.
Go to my turn, draw a card. Let's go Tundra as a land drop. I need more cards, so I'm gonna cast an Esper Sentinel.
I'm not passing. Here you go. I'm paying for Rhetoric Study.
My Esper Sentinel is mentally misstepped. My life total actually matters. I play Necropotence. I see a low 4. I pass.
Go to my turn. Land for turn will be an Exotic Orchard. Then I'll tap 3 for a Necropotence, not paying for a stick.
I'm passing.
Necro resolves, and I will pay 7 life into Necro. Move to end step and draw my cards. And then I would like to move to cleanup, discarding a Deflecting Swat and a Goblin Engineer that gets exiled to Necro. And then my turn is over.
Alright, on that, I'll draw a card, play a Phyrexian Metamorph for 2 life and 1, 2, 3 mana. It's gonna be a Lotho, a Chromox, and my Lotho. Yeah, you can draw. I'll lose a life and make a treasure, pass the turn.
At the end of your turn, I will tap this for blue, white floating as well because of that. I'll tap this, taking 2 damage, 4 in the pool. I will cast an Intuition, and I'll use it, the 1 to pay for Rhetoric Study. Targeting Mons. All right, Gaia's Cradle, Sabine's Wreck, and Spellseeker.
So I have a question. There's this Necropotence in play, and you have a Spellseeker over there. Can I ask what you're potentially planning to find with that Spellseeker?
Mostly a combo piece. So I could either try to win closer to...
I think I'm gonna give you the Gaia's Cradle, actually. Because if I give you Spellseeker, that sounds scary. If I give you Savines, that's equal to having Spellseeker. And I don't see any creatures in play, so for now you can have the Cradle.
Sabines, go to the bin. Spellseeker, go to the bin. Then we will go to my turn and try not to pay no attention to the meowing cat behind me. Put in Misty Rainforest, and I'm going to sacrifice it. Fetching up a Savannah, and then I'm going to tap blue and white and green, as well as one floating from Ancient Tombs. I'll take 2 damage, and I will cheat my Derevi into play. Derevi trigger, I'll untap this Utopia Sprawl, or untap the Tropical Island. Move to my end step.
I don't think I'm going to need this, so I'm just going to cast it to cycle it. Casting Manamorphose, gaining blue and black mana, drawing a card. Going to my turn, untap and draw a card. I'm gonna play a Flooded Strand and sacrifice it, finding a volcanic island. Then I'm casting Sisay, Weatherlight Captain. Combat, I'm attacking Pontus for 1.
No blocks, take 1.
And here I pass.
Go to my turn. Land for turn will be a Mana Confluence. Then I will be casting a Burgi, not paying for a stick. Burgi enters the battlefield. Then I will be losing 1 life to cast a Silence, trigger Lotho, and not paying for a stick, and trigger Burgi. I get a treasure, I get a red mana, and Silence resolves. I will cast a Lotus Petal, not paying for a stick, making a red with Burgi. I'll pay 1 of my floating red to cast a Ragavan, making a new red, still not paying for a stick. Here we have an interesting discussion, dilemma, I don't know, one of them. I am actually playing the wheel here, because I do think I overall win on this wheel. I'm obviously going to pay into Necro in my end step. And while you can argue that I want as much mana as possible to do shenanigans, I actually don't need that much with Burgi in play. So wheeling here opens up a lot of more ways where I develop more and also like win. I probably should Swords the Dranith, but there are a couple of edge cases where that really screws me over. But I do think it's the right play to do, so I'm going to do it. And if we lose to it, good content.
Dranith Magistrate is sworded, and I gain a life.
I make an extra red mana. I use my 3 mana to cast a Wheel of Fortune. Trigger Burgi.
It is sad that Angels of Grace was wheeled. The intention of not casting it, even though I was tempted to when he played Silence, is because if he was digging for Final Fortune or something of that sort, went to another turn, I could cast it on that turn and then hopefully not lose, and he might lose because we have split second. I think it was an exercise in patience. It's unfortunate again I got wheeled, but here we are.
Post wheel, I will crack a treasure, use a red floating to cast a Felwar Stone, not paying for Rustic and triggering my Burgi. I'll then tap Felwar Stone and use my red floating to cast a Warrior's Oath, not paying for Ristic. Warrior's Oath resolves. I make the 1 mana from Burgi, and then I'm gonna pay 21 life into Necropotence. I'll move to end step and put those cards in my hand. So these are cards I'm discarding, and they will go to exile, and I'm keeping this as my hand. And moving to my last turn, I will untap but not draw because of Necro. Land return will be a City of Traitors. I'll tap it, floating colorless, tapping the Shadowy Backstreet, floating a colorless to cast a Tithe Taker, triggering Burgi. Spells and abilities cost 1 more during my turn. Can you draw a card? I know. Not paying for a stick. Dark Ritual, not paying for a stick. Trigger Burgi, trigger Lotho. Use 1 black and 1 red for a Demonic Tutor. Demonic Tutor resolves. I'll make my 1 red mana and put this card in my hand. I will use a black and a red to cast a Breach. Trigger Burgi, not paying for a stick. Breach resolves, and I will make a red mana back. I'll use a red mana and my last black mana to cast a Grinding Station. Trigger Burgi, not paying for a stick.
All right, well, I'll respond. This for green and a white. That will enable me to pay for Tithe Taker and attempt to Boseiju, the Underworld Breach.
Yeah, Boseiju will destroy my Breach, and I will search for a land. For the Boseiju effect, I will find a scrub land and put it into play. Then Grinding Station is back on the stack. Grinding Station resolves. In response to its ETB, I will float a white and sacrifice Felwar Stone to Grinding Station. Target myself to mill myself for 3. I will mill a Archivist of Ogma, Soul Petition, and a Grand Abolisher. Then it will untap itself, and I get a mana from Burgi because I forgot that earlier. I'll tap my Scrubland, use a red floating and the white floating, cast a Savin's Reclamation targeting my Breach. And I can actually pay for Ristic here. Savin's resolves, and I'll bring back my Breach. And I'll make the red back. I'll use the red I just got to cast a Pyroblast targeting the Rustic Study, paying for Rustic Study.
Rhetoric study is kaboomed. It's dead.
With Rustic Study gone, I would like to crack a treasure to cast a Felwar Stone, and here present a loop where I can mill 3, tap it for mana, use the mana plus Bury Gi to cast it again, to mill through my library until I find what I need. I'll actually swap this to use Lotus Petal, because that makes a mana instead of going mana neutral. A bunch of red while I loot through my library. I'll actually not sacrifice the Lotus Petal for mana. I make mana from Bury Gi and sacrifice the Lotus Petal to Grinding Station to mill myself. This way I can make mana and mill, which is pretty nice. So the shortcutted version of this is that I'm milling through my library. I have 14 cards in graveyard constantly until I have Necromancy and Abdel Adrian in my graveyard. These cards loop in that Necromancy brings back Abdel Adrian. Abdel Adrian ETBs. He will exile Necromancy and the Felwar Stone. They will go away. Necromancy, when it goes away, will sacrifice Abdel Adrian, bring back Necromancy and the Felwar Stone, and I'll make infinite mana and infinite 1/1 tokens. With that infinite mana and infinite tokens, to actually kill the table, because I exiled all my win cons by mistake, is that I will cast a Bola Citadel. And I have enough cards to cast this 4 times and infinite tokens. So I will sacrifice Bola Citadel and 10 tokens to deal 10 damage to each of my opponents, or each opponent will lose 10 life. And then I will recast it with Breach and do that 4 times to kill the whole table. Good game.
This game would have been so amazing, honestly, if Angel's Grace ended up as the winner of the match. It would have made my day. So sad.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, unfortunate.
I was 3 cards away from finding an interaction, a Fierce Guardianship, and with the Mox Diamond I had the mana to pay for your tax creature I don't know the main name of. So, kinda close of being able to counterspell the first Sevin's Reclamation.
Also, I always had the red blasts in case I needed it to protect myself. But then when all of my cards were in play, I just cast it to just destroy the Rustic, because I can't loop the Rustic.
I think you can, honestly. Can't you?
Well, kinda, but you draw your whole deck. I can infinitely mill myself with the Lotus Battle and just pay for Rustic.
Can't you just recast Silence, though? You had Silence in the grave, correct?
Oh, yeah, sure, of course. But, like, that's still more risky, because you do have Boseiju mana in, like, up. So if you have Boseiju in your deck, you just lose to that, because okay, technically I can play through all of this. This is just easier, okay?
I agree.
I was actually really unsure if I should have kept that wheel on top or not with the Surveilland, because my plan was Necro, and like Necro into wheel usually isn't the right call, but since I could play my whole hand and then wheel, that's just gas.
Considering it actually won you the game, it ended up being the correct decision.
Yeah.
kind of funny, actually. In any case, thanks for watching, guys. We didn't get to see an Angel's Grace victory this time, but maybe later in the future, who knows. See you guys, take care.